addition to the basic amenities like food and shelter, as in exchange for working for for your company to perform a task, a person should also have the option of being able to buy their own property. It is not ethical to give people money and then expect them to fend for themselves in their off times. It's like, um, how do I put this? It's like they're machine. You're expecting them to go to work and be like machines when they're on, and then they're basically just animals meant to fend for themselves when they're off. This will cause people to mix with people, working people to mix with people who are not, and will cause people who are responsible to develop unproductive worries and habits. Like I for this picture, I eventually wanted a homeless man here, but somehow this one captures the essence of what I was trying to get across better. Notice that this person is a skeleton, but also he could easily be a robot, and also the bike can also easily be a robot. So wouldn't it be interesting if you had a kind of organism whose whose bones live far longer than the actual flesh on his body? This will affect children living in the modern world. Now, notice when we build things, it also means that we want these children to be responsible enough to inherit the things that we build for ourselves. This will affect children even when living in a school that will keep them occupied until they are physically and mentally ready to do work in a physical setting. This is an example of a village. This is where people live and grow up, and this is where people work and become productive. Um, Although a robot takes seconds to program and is already fully grown, some may have extensible limbs. They will still be prone to the pitfalls of learning from life experience. So part of the experience of operating in a physical setting would be learning to do a job in competition with machines. Now, about the competition with machines, previously I said it is not ethical to give people money and then expect them to operate like machines when they're at work, and then basically just let them be animals when they're off work. When they're off work, they the the competition in machines is purely financial, where the machines do certain tasks that machines are meant to do, and it is optimized between the way, including run governments, and optimally the biological form of life does what it is meant to do. Um, as a way for humans to be more culpable with machines, they should be graduated as early as possible from school. And it can be done by first structuring school to work more like a college. When I graduated high school and went to college, I found that the college structure was far different from high school structure, and it may cause coping problems for some students. Um, so I later I developed this method called the carry-up handoff method. Given a set amount of tuition to be paid, it is by business or parents, a portion of it is earnable by the student. It is not a system meant for implementation, but it is rather something that converts the school to resemble to look more like a business. So in one way, the school, their students at a school, and this is their teacher. And in another interpretation of the same setting, they are workers, and this is their boss. And this is actually how they could be trained to operate in the working world, as opposed to them being students and going to teacher, and then when they grow up they go to work and this is their boss. They should be responsible enough from as early as possible to do things like applying for jobs, and coming to classes by themselves, and being invested in the appropriate mannerisms that would be necessary for an adult. This does not mean that they can't the work environment cannot be positive. Like for instance, in this setting, you have very bright colors. If you get children used to seeing this setting in a positive way, it will be much easier for them to actually operate out by themselves in the adult world, um, by themselves. The dormitory also reinforces this independence. Independence, like machine independence, where machines don't necessarily have parents to look after them, is a future culture for humanity. Changing from our current culture into this new culture would be a challenge, and it will cause a lot of theoretical and philosophical and psychological explorations into our consciousness. In addition, one of the last and most important things to consider about the independence of precision intelligence is self-actualization. As a precision instrument, a machine should theoretically be able to reach a state of self-actualization that is beyond our grasp. This will not be possible without the following sensor arrays: smell and taste, wideband optical sensors, sonar, magnetic field sensors, tactile systems, chakra systems of prime meridians. Ethically, a machine should be integrated into the biological sensor grid in order to retain a sense of dignity and as a thinking being. This is an example of human prime meridians discovered by the ancient Chinese that are also on the Earth, as discovered by the ancient Norse people. Robots should be inlaid in with these sensor grids so that they would have a feel of the electromagnetic shielding system of our planet and any planet in order to naturally and harmonically calibrate its thought processes to be more similar to a natural animal, including a human being. So this is my presentation on the basic ethics of the how robots will shape our society. Also, notice that I did not specifically implement robots as the only form of higher order life. Eventually I can theorize that robots will eventually create some new sort of consciousness that is far above even robot consciousness, which must then be integrated into that new society. I can also predict that there is a lot of biological life modifications that will leave the way we have evolved to be vestigial compared to this new form of life, which will be so much more similar to a machine instrumentation in the way it grows and the way it thinks, to a machine, and the way it is integrated into the bioelectric system of systems of the Earth. These beings will be in constant communication with other forms of life in ways similar to beings described in ancient Chinese and Native American mythology. Because they will be able to reconfigure etherical things, electrical things into physical things that can transfer forces. So this sort of structure for the elementary school is just the first step into a long series of evolutionary progressions of systems that will be required to handle beings that are for now so far above our level of understanding and comprehension. And that is my presentation.